horses that like have a mind of their own, so to speak, but I mean in a kind of a, like they're trying to be helpful way. They have their own ideas, they have their own suggestions to amend what you're asking them to do. So here's an example. Katie, when I go to get Tyson in the morning to take him out, I take him out with Katie. So I retrieve Katie from her stall first, and then I go get Tyson. So we together go over and get Tyson. Because she has a little habit of thinking she's going to go, you know, explore the grain room, which is right next to Tyson's stall, I'll park the hay wheelbarrow in a way that it blocks her from being able to do that, and she can explore the hay wheelbarrow while I halter Tyson. So we kind of have that as an understanding. Well, while she's doing that, she gets herself pretty up against that wheelbarrow and then blocks Tyson and I from being able to come out of Tyson's stall. So I need to ask her to back away, to get out of the way so we can, you know, proceed out to the turnout. And she could probably back up a step or two and then just cross over her feet and head towards the door. She really doesn't need to back up like 5 steps to accomplish what she knows that I want to accomplish. She doesn't need to do 3, 4, or 5 backup steps. But that's what I want her to do. So let's just say I've asked her to back up and she responds appropriately to the backup cue. And then in her mind, she's backed up far enough. I can just cross over and head out to the door. I know where we're going because she knows, you know, what's next. I'll just turn now. And it's not what I want her to do. That's not what I'm asking her to do. Now, the reason I say appreciate her suggestion, appreciate her thinking, right? She's thinking. She is telling me she knows what's next. She's thinking. However, what if I actually wanted her to do something else, and now I've taken too many of her suggestions over time, that the day I actually need her to not take over the conversation and let me still guide her, and she can't do it. She, you know, like for whatever reason, she's just been groomed to believe that her suggestions are always taken into consideration and never challenged, I guess wouldn't be the right word, never redirected or whatever. So like she always gets away with, you know, kind of saying, hey, I don't really need as much room as you're asking me to give you. I can just turn right now. Yeah, but I don't want you to turn right now. I actually want you to back up 2 more steps. So like this morning, you know, I asked her to back away from the wheelbarrow, and she backed away, and she leaned with her head to say, I've got room, right? So she backed up. I'm trying to see where you get the best view. So she backed up as I asked her to, and then she leaned to say, I have enough room, I can just go now. And because she offered me the suggestion, or offered me the information of saying, I have enough room, I don't need to back up anymore, that made me ask for another 2 steps. Because I want to make sure that the conversation is guided by me, right? That I'm the full narration of the conversation. I'm happy to listen to her suggestions, and I'm happy to see that she did have, you know, a good point. But there might be a time that you backing all the way past the stall is necessary. Don't know what that time would be, don't know what the reason would be, but there might be a day that that's going to be necessary. And I need you to always know that I might have more information, and I appreciate your offer, and maybe one day I'll take your offer. But let's just say she offered and said, hey, I have plenty of room, I don't need to back up anymore. Maybe I'll say, okay, you're right, I see that. But instead of letting her make the turn herself, I'll say, yeah, you know what, that's a great idea, let's do that. And what I would do then is I would give her a turn signal. My turn signal is something that I do like towards the crease of their mouth. I don't physically touch them, but my aim, if you will, is towards the crease of their mouth. And that's to tell them to turn their nose. And then I'll give them a go cue to tell them to follow their nose, right? So let's say she backed up and said, I've got plenty of room. I'll say, yeah, you know what? Yeah, you do. So how about we go? Right? But I would want to make sure that she waited for me to still tell her I agree with her assessment of the situation. And yeah, that works. We can do that. How about you turn now then, right? But I still am the reason she turned her feet. I'm still the reason that she made the decision to go. She didn't make that decision on her own. When you're a leader of a horse, you need to make sure that that horse always accepts your leadership, always looks to you for what's next. You know, I mean, I'm thinking of like horses on the Grand Canyon or mules on the Grand Canyon, you know, that know the trail, and you're almost supposed to just like let them do the navigation because they know, and they know what's best for their feet. So there are situations where letting them be, you know, the one that does it all. But I've been on a trail with Katie and a friend of mine, and we were out, and there was a pipe, like a big plaster type, not I don't know what it would be considered, like a concrete, concrete, big concrete pipe that was exposed along the path that we were going to go down. And it was exposed enough that if stepped on it wrong, we'd slide off into the water. Like, it was on the, like, so here's the path, and here's the pipe, and it's still kind of on the path, and it's slightly exposed. So it's sticking out of the ground, but not fully. So as we're walking along the path, there's a good chance, because it was a narrow path, there's a good chance 1 foot would get onto that concrete pipe. So it was important for me to guide her feet to stay on the dirt side of that path, which was making it even narrower, more narrow. And it was important that she didn't say, I got plenty of room, you know, and lead us through that path. It was important that I could explain to her that there's a reason I'm asking you to keep your feet even tighter to this side. And that's how you groom a horse to taking those instructions, is to always tell them, I appreciate your suggestion, but I'm going to want to do it this way. Or if they start to say, you know, I can just go, and they start to actually lean. Like if she had told me, you know, I've got plenty of room, you know, she backed up and told me I had plenty of room. If she leaned to where this leg was going to start to get light on the ground, I would then deliberately tell her to back up. I'd deliberately tell her to square up, put weight back on that foot, and back up. I would not allow her to dictate how the conversation's going to go. Okay? So I just wanted to say, like, those are the things that you want to make sure you do with your horse so that you never lose the balance of the relationship. So I always want my horses to respect my knowledge, respect my leadership, respect my guidance, and to never try to take that over and become, to get us into trouble. Like, I don't want my horse to get us into trouble. Like Katie, you know, there's times that she'll want to do something that could totally get us into trouble if she, you know, wanted to take over. Like, I know another way, but yeah, but I want you to do it this way. So Katie's the horse that you're going to have those conversations with, and there are plenty of horses out there that are going to have those conversations with you. The goal is to limit how many of those conversations you have with your horse. So that way, if you're ever in a situation where you're on a narrow path and there's something that they could slip off of and put you both in the water, if you can't tell them what to do with their feet and not have the argument then, because having an argument at that time would have guaranteed us to get into the water, right? If I couldn't have told her, listen, I know that the path is actually wider, but I actually need you to be really tight up against this side because that thing over there could get us into trouble. If I decided that we were going to have this intense conversation about it, we would have been guaranteed to be in the water. So working on those things in the little cases, right? In those little cases, like today, you know, saying, Katie, I need you to back up. And she says, okay, yeah, but now I have enough room to go this way. Yeah, but I don't, you know, that's not, I'd like you to back up another step because I really, you know, I appreciate your information. I appreciate your suggestion, but I'm going to want you to do it my way. Because there might be a day where my way is going to keep us out of the water. All right. Have a great day. Bye.